Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2007 Chevy Cobalt Coupe. Up front is a 2.2 liter inline 4 and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Cobalt for a couple of reasons. First of all, I haven't driven a non-SS Cobalt before. I actually did a Chevy Cobalt SS sedan, as you're seeing here, in that red color, which I love, but I haven't driven the normal, everyday, average Cobalt. So here I am today. The other reason is the fact that I've been reviewing a lot of GMs lately, so it's always good to add another to that list. But before I get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers like this retro sticker pack or big friggin' bottle sticker, both with free shipping. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you could read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. I am a firm believer that learning about the past helps you understand the future. And so let's take a quick walk back in time. In the last couple of months, I've actually reviewed the lineage of Chevy entry-level vehicles. It started back in 1982 with the first generation Chevy Cavalier, as seen here. This is actually a 1986 model you're seeing, but still the first generation. It then got a facelift in 1988. This is a 1994. You are seeing a second generation Cavalier. Then in 1995, it got the third generation. This is a 2003 that you're seeing, a third generation Cavalier. But the Cavalier came to an end in 2005, where Chevy replaced it with this, the Cobalt. Now, the Cobalt only saw one generation, a 5-year span from 2005 to 2010, where it was replaced with the Chevy Cruze. Seen here, I believe that's a 2012 with the 1.4 turbo. I don't know why Chevy has made all of their entry-level cars C's for the last 30 years. Cavalier, Cobalt, Cruze. If you really want to go back to the 70s, the Chevette, but that's just the way it is. Let's get back to that 2.2 liter Ecotec engine under the hood. This one makes 148 horsepower, which isn't anything crazy. You could have opted also a 2.4 liter Ecotec like was found in the Pontiac G6 I used to own, and that made 173 horsepower. But this is the 2.2. I like this engine. Ecotec engines are very interesting because they're not fantastic in my mind in terms of power, in terms of feel, in terms of sound. However, as Mr. Regular from Regular Car Reviews once said, an older GM will run like garbage for longer than most cars run at all. And that's how I feel about the Ecotec engine. They're never super happy, but they will outlast most of their American counterparts from Chrysler or Ford. My 2.4 liter Ecotec in my Pontiac G6 never gave up after 197,000 miles. I even drove it to the city of Chicago and back, probably around 60 or 70 miles, with less than a quart of oil in the engine. It was making a horrendous ticking sound, and I just kept driving. I was young, dumb, and broke, but it kept running. It never had a major issue. Lost a little oil here and there, but it kept going. And that's what I love about the Ecotecs. Like I said, paired to it, 4-speed automatic transmission. It's, last but not least, this is front wheel drive. One thing I do notice about just the driving, having done a U-turn in this car, there's a lot of steering movement. You have to turn it 2 full rotations to get it to lock. And to me, I don't know, it just feels like I'm doing a lot of work to turn this thing. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 main gauges. On the left is my speedometer, in the center is my fuel, and on the right is my tachometer. That is it. I do get a little information gauge at the bottom of the tachometer, which is definitely really nice. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my cruise control options, as well as my page option for that screen in the gauge cluster we just talked about. And on the right side of the steering wheel, nothing. I don't know why they couldn't have put the page button off to the right, but I guess they thought it was better to have everything on the left. Kind of strange. The steering wheel is very parts bin GM. I've driven multiple different cars with this steering wheel. Even a C6 Corvette has this steering wheel, which is kind of funny to see. Off to the left, I have my gauge dimmer switch and fog lights, as well as a vent. And on the door, I of course have my latch to get in and out. Power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, I get 2 climate control vents and my hazard switch off to the left, interestingly. Then, of course, the radio has since been changed out because most radios from the mid-2000s were pretty garbage, including GM. They didn't really offer aux cords till like 2009 in their base model cars, so if you want any hope of playing your own music, you gotta switch out that radio. I have an airbag light, and then I have the climate controls. where to send it off to the left, fan speed in the center, and temperature off to the right, as well as I have my AC, rear defrost, and recirculating buttons down below. I will say these dials do feel very solid, which is very, very nice. Then I get a cubby that can only fit one mechanical pencil, and then the cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Chevy Cobalt, and initially with this liner in, the big friggin' bottle does not fit. However, this liner is removable. However, once it's removed, the big friggin' bottle barely still does not fit. So unfortunately, the Chevy Cobalt from 2007 fails the big friggin' bottle test even with the liner out. Sad, but unfortunately, that's the reality. Then we come to the shifter. The shifter does feel pretty cheap and plasticky. This is what I would expect out of GM at this time. This is 1 year before recession GM, where they threw all of their other brands out the window. But still, GM didn't have a whole lot of money before the recession either. They weren't going into it as rock stars. They were going into it still with decently cheap vehicles. So the cheap feeling shifter is to be expected out of a car like this. Then I do get a 12-volt outlet and handbrake, and then I get a little center console / armrest. And then we got to talk about the seats. Well, the seats are actually out of a SS version. They are genuine Recaro seats, and they are out of an SS version of the Cobalt, so these are not the stock seats. One thing I will say about stock seats, just in regular Cobalts, non-SSs, is that the seats do feel very, very cheap. They're not super comfortable. However, I did do a couple of road trips in a Pontiac G6, which is very, very similar, and so I managed to get the job done. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, even though this is a coupe, so let's go do a back seat review. Oh my God. Ugh. So we're in the back of the 2007 Chevy Cobalt. I can't close the door, I can't reach it. The door is so long. The camera's crooked. All this makes me want to say is just buy the sedan. If you plan on taking anyone in the back seat ever, buy the sedan. This is way too much work for not nearly enough reward. I would honestly rather be kidnapped and thrown in the trunk than be asked to sit back here on the way to Jimmy John's. These back seats suck pretty bad. Let's go take a quick look at the trunk, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the Chevy Cobalt. I do have a trunk release button right here. And once we're in here, the actual opening is kind of small, but the trunk itself is rather large, as you can see. Not too bad. It's just that opening that kind of hinders it. So if you have large objects, fitting them through the hole might be a little bit harder than actually placing them inside. But once you're inside, plenty of space back here. And honestly, after that backseat review, I think I'd rather ride back here. Now we got to talk about the looks. And honestly, as time goes on, the Cobalt looks more and more attractive to me. I think it actually has aged pretty gracefully here 15 years later. Can't believe that 15 years have gone by since this car came out. I think overall it looks pretty good. I think this color is rather interesting. It's not white or black, which it's always nice to see in an economy car actual colors. But now let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think of the Chevy Cobalt from 2007? Well, let's get the negatives out of the way. I do think the build quality in here is a little bit cheap. Not a little bit, it's cheap. Lots of plastics, there's some creaking, there's some rattles and jingles when I do go over bumps. I also personally am just not a big fan of coupes. I think the sedans are the way to go, and fortunately, you actually can get a sedan from this era of the Chevy Cobalt, which is very nice. You had the option of sedan or coupe. But besides that, this was sort of a backbone for Chevy during this era. The Cobalt made it through the recession. And I have to say, in my own findings, these Ecotechs have been pretty reliable. There's something nice about a car when it just works. This car works. This car is owned by my friend Miller, and he drives it to work. He's also a photographer. He's taking it out to shoots and shows and things like that. It does a job. It serves a purpose. Is this the car I would pick to take back roading on a Sunday afternoon? No, but not every car was meant to do that, and that's okay. They had the SS for that. This car had a little job, and it does that job really, really well. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Miller for letting me take out his Chevy Cobalt. This was awesome. I'm so glad I was finally able to get behind the wheel of one of these. He's absolutely awesome. His Instagram is linked down in the description below. He does some really great work as well. And if you're into anything automotive, I highly recommend checking him out. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.